The time is 12:35. We are going back on the record. This is tape 3 of the videotape deposition of Bill Gates on August 28th.
Bless you.
In connection with Intuit, Mr. Gates, insofar as you were aware, was there any effort to get Intuit to agree that Intuit would not promote Netscape's browser?
I'm not aware of anything specifically related to promotion. As I said, I didn't deal with them directly. You could say that ask them not to support Netscape as their standard supported browser. It's a change in their promotion of Netscape.
Yes, I take that point. Let me make the question a little more precise. Other than an attempt to get Intuit to make Internet Explorer Intuit's default browser, did Microsoft make any effort that you're aware of to get Intuit not to support or advertise Netscape's browser?
It's kind of a strange question because Intuit never would have specifically advertised someone's browser. So I don't know what you mean by promotion when you give that example.
Well, I'm really just asking for what Microsoft did, and if you don't understand the question, Mr. Gates, you can tell me and I will rephrase the question.
Isn't that what I just did?
Saying that you didn't understand the question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me put another question to you. Did Microsoft, insofar as you are aware, try to get Intuit to agree not to enter into any kind of marketing or promotion agreements with Netscape?
I don't know.
Did you have discussions with anyone concerning what Microsoft was trying to get from Intuit?
I might have sent email about it at some point.
Do you remember the content of that email?
No.
Remember anything at all about the content of that email?
Well, I don't know that it's an email either. I said I might have sent email. It may have been many emails. So no, I don't remember anything beyond the fact that there may have been email about this, and I may have made my views about the subject known.
Let me ask you to look at a document that has been previously marked as Government Exhibit 376. This purports to be a email dated April 17, 1997 from Brad Chase to you and some other people, which is forwarding on a email of earlier in the day on April 17th from Mr. Will Poole to Brad Chase. The subject of both emails is Intuit terms agreed. Do you see that?
Well, it's just a forward, yeah.
Do you recall receiving this email?
No.
Do you have any doubt that you received a copy of this email?
No.
There are...
Well, I don't have any reason to doubt. I don't know that I received the email. I don't have any reason to doubt it. But since I don't remember it,
Did you ever see this email before?
I don't remember ever seeing it.
under the heading Intuit Obligations, it says Bundle IE3, Quicken, in parentheses, and IE4, in parentheses, other products. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Were you told in April 1997 that Intuit had agreed to bundle IE3 and IE4 with its products?
I don't remember that specifically.
Farther down, under Intuit obligations, there is an obligation that reads, quote, "Not enter into marketing or promotion agreements with other browser manufacturers for distribution or promotion of Intuit content." Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Were you told in words or in substance, in or about April of 1997, that Intuit had agreed not to enter into marketing or promotion agreements with other browser manufacturers for distribution or promotion of Intuit content?
I don't remember being told that.
Do you have any reason to doubt that you were told that?
In the sense that one of the emails that may have come into my mailbox might have related to that, I don't doubt it. I certainly wasn't something that could have been very significant to me because I don't have a recollection of it.
The last Intuit obligation that is listed here is, quote, "Create differentiated content area for Intuit channel that is available only to IE users," close quote. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Were you told in words or in substance, in or about April of 1997, that Intuit had agreed with Microsoft that Intuit would create a differentiated content area for Intuit's channel that would be available only to IE users?
I don't remember being told that, nor do I understand what it means.
Have you ever had any discussions with anyone within Microsoft about the possibility of content providers creating a content area that would only be available to IE users?
I don't understand that. I mean, if the URL is there, you can get to it.
So what you're saying is that this obligation that Intuit is said to have taken on is an obligation that you just don't understand at all what it means. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying these words that are on this piece of paper, I don't understand what they mean.
Do you understand the concept?
I don't know what it means.
Okay. Did you ever ask Mr. Poole what it meant?
Nope.
Did you ever ask Mr. Chase what it meant?
No.
Did you ever ask anybody what it meant?
Those words, no.
Or the concept that is described by those words?
I don't understand those words, so it's hard for me to relate to the concept. I don't understand the words.
Let me be sure that I understand what you don't understand. You're telling me that you don't understand what it would mean for Intuit to create a differentiated content area,
That's in quotes.
yes, for the Intuit channel that would be available only to IE users.
I'm not sure what they mean by that.
Do you have any idea what they mean by that?
No, it's confusing to me.
All right, sir. When did Microsoft enter into an agreement with Intuit to make IE Intuit's default browser?
I don't know the date of our agreement with Intuit.
Do you know approximately?
Well, before you showed me this email, I would have said no. Looking in this email, it suggests that it was sometime before April 17, 1997.
Just so you're not misled by the email, the email talks about when the terms are agreed. It doesn't say that the agreement has yet been signed. Is that correct?
I hadn't thought about that distinction.
I think the first line, you may want to look at it, where it says, "We have agreed on all salient terms in our term sheet and are going to contract."
You're right. You're right. I guess I'd have to get a copy of it to know what date it has. I think there was an agreement reached, though.
Are you aware of any terms in that agreement other than terms that are identified here?
No.
Let me ask you to look at a document that has been previously marked as Government Exhibit 372. This is a email to you from Ben Slifka, dated April 14th, 1997. Then the subject is, quote, "Java review with you," close quote. Did you receive this email in or about April of 1997, Mr. Gates?
I don't remember.
The email begins that the author is working with Paul Moritz to set up a 2 to 3 hour review for you on your Java efforts. Do you see that?
On our Java efforts.
On Microsoft's Java efforts.
No, I think it's Ben Slifka's group.
And he is a Microsoft group, right?
Yeah, he's part of Microsoft, but not all of Microsoft.
So you would interpret this as that he is working with Paul Moritz to set up a 2 to 3 hour review for you of part of Microsoft's Java efforts, but not all of Microsoft's Java efforts. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the work his group is doing.
The work his group is doing on Java, right?
Right.
Okay. And he lists what he describes as some pretty pointed questions that you, Mr. Gates, had about Java. Do you see that?
I'm not sure those are the pointed questions. It says, I want to make sure I understand your issues, concerns.
Well, that's actually the last part of a sentence that begins, quote, "When I met with you last, you had a lot of pretty pointed questions about Java, so I want to make sure I understand your issues, concerns." That's what the sentence says, correct, sir?
Right.
And when Mr. Slifka says, "I met with you last," he's talking about you, Mr. Gates, correct, sir?
Yes.
And when he says, "You had a lot of pretty pointed questions about Java," he's again talking about you, Mr. Gates, correct?
Right.
And then he lists what he refers to as a start. 1, what is our business model for Java? 2, how do we wrest control of Java away from Sun? Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Sometime prior to April 14, 1997, had you conveyed to Mr. Slifka that one of your pointed questions about Java was, quote, "How do we wrest control of Java away from Sun?"
I don't think I would have put it that way. Certainly was an issue about the popularity of Sun's runtime APIs versus our runtime APIs.
Is it your testimony that you didn't raise the question of how do we wrest control of Java away from Sun with Mr. Slifka?
I'll say again, I doubt I used words like that, but there certainly was an issue of the popularity of our runtime APIs versus their runtime APIs.
Just so that the record is clear, I'm not asking you about whether there was a question about the popularity of your runtime APIs or their runtime APIs. What I'm asking is whether you told him in words or in substance that you wanted to know how Microsoft could wrest control or get control of Java away from Sun.
Objection, asked and answered twice.
I think he said he didn't remember using those words. What I now want to try to find out is whether he used those words or conveyed that substance.
Okay, and he doesn't remember using those words.
And I'm asking him whether he conveyed that in words or in substance.
He testified as to substance.
I don't believe he did, but I'm in any event putting the question to the witness.
I don't remember anything about control as a word or in substance, but there was an issue about the popularity of our runtime APIs versus Sun's runtime APIs.
I take it you know Mr. Slifka?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to answer yes or no audibly so the reporter can take it down.
Yes.
And do you believe him to be a person of competence and integrity?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that he would have misstated what you told him when you met with him last before April 14th, 1997?
In no way does this purport to be a restatement of things I said to Ben Slifka.
Well, Mr. Gates, what this memorandum says is, quote, when I met with you last, you had a lot of pretty pointed questions about Java, so I want to be sure I understand your issues and concerns. Here's a start. Can you please add any that I'm missing? And then he lists 6, the second of which is, how do we wrest control of Java away from Sun? You see that in the exhibit, do you not, sir?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, sir. Let me ask you to look at a document that has been previously marked as Government Exhibit 373. It's a one-page exhibit, and the second item on the page is a message from you to Paul Moritz, dated June 16, 1997, on the subject of, quote, Java schism, close quote. Did you send this message, Mr. Gates?
I don't remember it, but I don't have any reason to doubt that I did.
What did you mean by, quote, Java schism, close quote?
I think the email speaks for itself.
The email may very well speak to itself or for itself.
I
What
appear to
want
have
know
written a
is-
mail that says, a point that is important to me is to have pure Java applications that do a lot have to ship a full runtime instead of being able to count on the runtime being shipped with the operating system, and so on.
Maybe my question wasn't clear. What I'm trying to get you to do is to tell me what you meant by the term Java schism.
It's a heading for this piece of email. The email is the communication, not the heading.
I understand that, sir. What I'm asking is, you chose the heading, did you not, sir?
It appears I typed that.
Right. And why did you choose this heading for this memo? What were you meaning to convey by the term Java Schism?
Exactly what I put into the message.
Well, sir, what did you mean by schism?
It explains that in the message.
I'm asking you to explain it in your words, what you mean by the word schism.
I'm drawing a distinction between pure Java apps and where they get their runtime bits.
And is that the schism that you're referring to?
That's what this email is about, and I titled it Java Schism, and I wrote that email. And the question is, how do pure Java applications get their runtime bits?
Could you read that answer back, please?
Sure, that's what this email is about, and I title it Java Schism, and I wrote that email, and the question is, how do pure Java applications get their runtime bits?
What is on the two sides of the schism, Mr.?
The bits you get from the browser, the bits you get elsewhere. I mean, the mail couldn't be clearer. It's asking about two sources of the bits. You can get bits from the browser, you can get bits somewhere else.
Okay. Now, where else can you get the bits?
They can ship with the application.
And why was it important to you to have pure Java applications that have the characteristics that you described them here?
I didn't want to have the browser get so large that it would have all the runtime bits for all the applications
And so where would the bits be?
with the application.
And what you're saying is important to you that Microsoft develop pure Java applications that have a lot of bits in them so that those bits don't have to be in the browser. Is that the
No,
case?
it doesn't say anything about Microsoft developing pure Java applications.
You're right, it doesn't.
And it's clearly not about that.
What is it about then, sir?
It's about pure Java applications in general.
Did you believe that it was desirable to have as many pure Java applications as possible?
It has nothing to do with this email. The answer is no, but
Okay.
if you think it has something to do with this email, that's incorrect.
Okay. I think that it may or may not be productive for you to speculate as to what I think. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to get your testimony about this email and about your views of Java more generally.
I thought so.
And first, let me ask a general question, and that is, did you believe that from Microsoft's standpoint it was desirable to have as many pure Java applications as possible?
We weren't focused on that as a goal, no.
In fact, is it fair to say that you preferred fewer pure Java applications to more pure Java applications?
We preferred more applications that took advantage of our APIs. And so we worked with ISVs to maximize the number that took advantage of our APIs.
And your APIs were not pure Java APIs.
No, some were and some weren't.
Yes, so some were and some weren't. But the APIs that you wanted people to use were APIs that were not pure Java APIs. Correct, sir?
And we were glad to have people use both.
Were you indifferent as to whether they used your pure Java APIs or your proprietary APIs?
You've introduced the
Objection.
word proprietary, and that completely changes the question. So help me out. What do you want to know?
Is the term proprietary API a term that you're familiar with, sir?
I don't know what you mean by it.
Is it a term you're familiar with in your business?
I really don't know what you mean. You mean an API that you have a patent on?
Mr. Gates, is the term proprietary API a term that is commonly used in your business?
Let me give you
All I'm
the-
trying to do is get
the
an answer to
common
my question.
meanings that those words could have, and then you can pick one of them and ask me a question about it.
No,
It
all
can
I'm
mean
doing-
do you want me to define proprietary API or
No,
not?
I don't want you to define proprietary API. I didn't ask you to define proprietary API. I asked you a simple question
It
as
has-
to whether the term proprietary API was commonly used in your business. Now, I'm prepared to sit here as long as you want to answer questions that I haven't asked. But I have a certain number of questions that I'm going to ask at the end of these other answers. Now, this is a simple question. You can say yes, no, or it is used in lots of different ways. But then I can choose what to follow up on. Or you can simply make whatever statements you want, and I'll go back to my question afterwards.
The witness is simply trying to help you through a difficult subject matter. That's all that's happening. It's not offensive.
It
Now-
is-
now-
it is not
now go
not
ahead and answer
offensive.
the question.
It is not offensive. But all I am saying is, with due respect, this witness's efforts do not help me clarify difficult subjects.
They could help, but go ahead and read the question one more time or state it again and you
Okay.
can answer it.
Is the term proprietary API a term that is commonly used in your business?
I don't know how common it is. It has many different meanings.
Is it a term that you have used in your business?
Sometimes.
Okay. Now, is it fair to say that when you use the term proprietary APIs, sometimes you mean one thing and sometimes you mean something else?
That's right.
Would you give me the different meanings that you sometimes ascribe to the term proprietary APIs when you use that term?
It can mean an API that only happens to be available from one company. It can mean an API that, for some reason related to intellectual property, can only be available from one company. And of course, that's never a black and white thing. It can mean an API that somebody's chosen not to take to a standards body. Those are three different things you might mean by it.
I just want to be sure that the answer is clear. I'm not asking what I might mean by it or what a person might mean by it. What I'm trying to do is get you to tell me meanings that you ascribe to that term when you use it.
I've used all three of those.
Okay. Are there other meanings that you have ascribed to the term proprietary API in your use of that term?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Now, with respect to the APIs in Windows, there are both Java APIs and non-Java APIs. Is that fair?
I hate to tell you this, but what you mean by Java there is subject to massive ambiguity.
Let me try to put the question this way. In Windows, there are pure Java APIs, there are impure Java APIs, and there are APIs that have nothing to do with Java. Is that fair?
Objection. I guess at this point, I'll have to say that if we're going to talk about pure Java APIs, you'll have to take the time to go down that path as well, which I know you're happy to do, of defining what that term means.
I mean what the witness meant when he wrote this email on June 16, 1997.
Fine?
I don't see anything about APIs.
Do you see pure Java
Yeah, but I don't see
in
APIs.
capital letters? And I can spend as much time as we have to on this. I think it shouldn't be necessary, but if we have to, we will.
Mr. Boyce, the difficulty is, and I don't mean to be at all rude, but it's partly, it's partly the complexity of the subject matter and the difficulty that you're having in posing these questions. Java is a complex subject.
Java is a complex subject.
And you
But
like
when
to
somebody
ask precise
talks about
questions,
when
which is
somebody
great.
talks about pure Java APIs, I don't think that is something that the witness can't answer.
But you said that the email talks about pure Java APIs,
No,
and it
what I said is
doesn't.
pure Java.
No, you said APIs.
Mr. Gates, let me ask a question. If you can't answer the question, you can't answer the question. Does Windows include pure Java APIs?